How's it going, people? Welcome back to Lee's channel and welcome back to the weekend roundup. Obviously, as you can see, Lee's got the night off tonight. You know, that's why I'm here every Monday with the weekend roundup. And this week I brought an Everton fan along with me, a special guest from the Blue Boys Network. If you haven't checked them out already, make sure you go and check them out. The @ is in the title, so all you got to do is click the @ subscribe to them. As you're going to see from the next hour or so, Mike is a very level-headed fan, good perspective, and that's the fans we need to talk to understand, more what's going on at Arsenal and how it's seen from outside of the club as well as inside. Lee gives a very good insight into what's happening inside the club, but certain time it's good to hear from other fans like yourself, Mike. Welcome to the channel. You was on mine the other day. How's it going?
Yeah, man, all good, all good. It's mad, to be honest. Like, the Arsenal love's been fantastic, and everyone's supported me. Come over to my channel, subscribed. So massive shout out to everyone that stepped over. Obviously, I've watched your work for ages. I've watched Lee, Tubbs MD. You were in my stream earlier, big man. So yeah, I mean, it's just nice to be sort of getting some traction with what feels like the YouTube world, and obviously, there's been a synergy with Everton and Arsenal for a long time, really, both traditional big clubs. And it's nice to give my take, really, into what's going on at Arsenal. And I agree with a lot of fans. I'm very passionate about football, so you might see me ranting a little bit like Arsenal fans probably expect. And, fucking hell, I got called Mr. DT on my channel the other day, so we'll allow that. But yeah, man, it's just good to be here, man. So massive respect to you all.
Nice one, Mike. Come on, man. It's a pleasure to have you on, and obviously we've just come off the back of Everton, and you know what? This show is called the Weekend Roundup, Mike. But every week since it started, which has been about maybe 6 weeks in there, every week, every Monday, the main talking point tends to be Arsenal Football Club. Obviously, it's an Arsenal channel. Yeah. But I'm also tired of talking about the same things over and over again. Hence why I've got you here to talk about the same things we hear over and over again. Look, the Everton game was a big one for me, Mike. I feel like it's 12 months in for Arteta. It was 12 months in for Ancelotti. We started 12 months ago with that game 0-0. 12 months later, we've got one FA Cup, and you have a very good transfer window under your belt. Essentially, one has resulted in you being where you are, and you as a fan and the rest of the fan base having a bit more hope and optimism. The FA Cup, however, seemed to create a short buzz. But as you can see, I believe the transfer windows are where it really counts. And if you don't take initiative there, like Everton did to fix the middle, here we are, 2-1 loss to Everton. Firstly, touch on let's talk about the game first, Mike. What did you make of the game before? Did you expect that sort of a performance? And yeah, let's get into it.
So firstly, from an outsider point of view, and when I do my match previews, I like to watch the team that Everton are playing, and then sort of do my match preview beforehand. And we discussed that on my channel, and you come on to ours, and we spoke about the game. And I saw a very poor. I saw a very poor Burnley side beat a very, very poor Arsenal side. And I sort of thought, this isn't the Arsenal I was expected. Arsenal come into the game against Everton, and yet I think the setup was wrong in the first half. But I definitely saw signs of encouragement. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and say I think Arteta should keep his job, because I think that's bullshit. I think he should go. I think, as you say, Everton, fourth in the league, flying high, good transfer window. Arsenal, equally a decent window. Thomas Partey was not a bad signing. Gabriel was not a bad signing, but it's what Arteta's been able to do with the rest of the team, and that's where he's lacked that experience. And you saw that in the Everton game. You saw that when Everton needed to get a goal, they did. When Everton had to play a little bit dirty, they did. And I just think Arsenal looked immature. And then in the last 15 minutes of the game, it's almost like you sort of stepped up and come alive. Balls were coming across the box. Willock had a header which went wide. And I sort of thought, that's more aggressive Arsenal. And how have you only played that for 5, 10, 15 minutes when you've had 80 beforehand to try and do it? And that was the big thing for me. At no point did I think Everton were going to lose or get a draw bar the last 5-10 minutes when you put us under pressure. And if Arsenal play like that against, teams that aren't as full of confidence as Everton, Everton beat Chelsea, beat Leicester away. Leicester obviously got a fantastic result last night. You sort of think that maybe they could have got something out of the game. Do you get what I mean? And that's what probably disappoints Arsenal fans is you can't really, in my opinion, you can't back Arteta from that performance because a lot of that was Arteta rather than the players. You can't criticise Saka for being inexperienced. You can't criticise Tierney for being inexperienced in the Premier League. You can criticise William. You can criticise Holding. And we did. I mean, fucking hell, we went in on them.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to put Arteta in there. And for me, it's time for Arteta to go. And for an experienced manager to get your experienced players shooting again, on fire again. Aubameyang getting passionate again. Lacazette, get him showing some grit and determination. Arsenal didn't have that in the game against Everton, and it was a massive. It was blatantly obvious in the middle of the park. Ceballos, it was almost like he wasn't asked to be there.
Yeah,
this is a real quality, talented player, and I just sort of sat there and thought, if Tom Davies is doing the job on Ceballos, there is something wrong with football at Arsenal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? My man should play for Notts County.
Listen. This is why I've got you on, Mike. It's a perspective from another viewpoint, from an opposition fan. And, as much as, there is no real rivalry between us. It's good to hear your perspective. And everything you said is right. There's not really much more to say on the game. I was going to give my viewpoint, but you've heard it before. We've heard it before. And like I said on my channel, I'm tired of talking about these same players, these same problems, the same issues round and round again. But what I want to ask you, Mike, let's rewind 12 months. I don't know if you can put yourself in that headspace again, and when you got rid of, when you was managerless. Did Arteta interest you at all as a fan, or did the murmurs come around the fan base, or was it ever an option? Did you ever discuss it?
Let me tell you where I am first. Yeah, you've just asked me to get in that headspace. Let me explain where that is. That is losing 2-0 at home to Norwich. Goodison Park, Marco Silva. Honestly, to say I wanted to run off the touchline and give that man a slap is an understatement. It was his decision making in that game was so poor, and from that moment, I knew he had to go. Did my match reaction, did my match day vlog, and I remember saying, "Go and get someone like Arteta." Yeah, I said that. I said, "Go and get someone who has had the best training possible in Pep Guardiola. Go and get someone who has been around big players who have got that mentality, and hopefully that mentality has rubbed off on Arteta because, although he was a good player in his day, and we certainly had the better years in my opinion than Arsenal did, but he never won anything really. He never, he never played for Spain. He never won a Champions League. He never won a Premier League, and I'm hoping that some of them players and Guardiola could affect him with the mentality that he needed. And so when we were linked with Arteta, I was like, yeah, calm, I'll take that. And I expected you lot, who Ancelotti was having a bad time at Napoli, as you know, he was having a bad run. Players weren't getting paid because the chairman weren't backing the players, etc. And he left. I expected you to get Ancelotti. I expected us to get Arteta. That's how I expected it. The hierarchy, Arsenal, the bigger club, expected them to get the bigger man, and it was mad to see that Arteta, although he was linked in the media, I don't ever think Everton ever spoke to him. Everton approached Ancelotti, and I sat there and thought it's only a matter of time before Arsenal have interviewed Arteta because they can, former captain. They're only going to go and interview Ancelotti, and they'll give the job to Ancelotti. And it was mad that you went with Arteta.
Mm-hmm.
Which I didn't think was a bad move. I'm not going to sit here and think it was a bad move. I didn't. I thought it was a decent appointment. I would have took him. Yeah. It's just mad how the two clubs have contrasted in that year, as you say. Everton losing 2-0 at home to Norwich, to now, it's mad. And then when you look at Arsenal, who, as you rightly say, that FA Cup completely masked them.
Yeah.
It's just mad. It's mad. And Arteta has, unfortunately, in my opinion, proven that he's not ready for a club like Arsenal. You know, Arteta maybe should have gone to a team like Rangers. Maybe he should have gone to a team like Celtic, who it's only a 2-man race, rather than an Arsenal who is trying its hardest to get back into the top 4 and back challenging for titles. It's a tough job for Arteta with a shit chairman, shit director of football. Well, he might not be shit, but from what I can see, I don't think Edu's doing a great job.
Right word. You haven't minced your words there. So
That one. Yeah, so, you know, sack them all off. He's got a tough job to do, and he can't do it. You know, he can't do it. The board won't allow him to do it. So where the fuck do Arsenal go from here?
Yeah. Mike, I might as well put you in the hot seat because you could lead this. I'm sure. Listen, it resonates with most of us Arsenal fans. You know, we feel exactly the same way. And you mentioned that you was interested in Arteta and how 12 months difference. You can see how mad that decision is. You can see how far Arsenal have fallen off. We was once a team paying our manager the highest in Europe, and all of a sudden we couldn't afford a manager no more. You know, it
was mad.
In essence, I'm similar to you because when he was first appointed, he wasn't my first choice. He wasn't even my top 3 or top 5 choices. You know, I didn't want him. But when he came in, you try and look at the pros if you can pull any out the bag. You know, he's never been a manager before, so it's hard to do that apart from the way he transmits himself and the way he's talked about by peers, which I don't really pay much attention to. Because when people tell me Guardiola said this about him, Arsene Wenger said this about him, well, I hardly expect Guardiola to come out and say Arteta doesn't know anything. I was carrying him the whole time. You know, I don't expect these people to come out and say these things. So they're always going to be their friends or peers.
Exactly. You know? You're going to back him. You're going to back him. And, you know, for a fan base, you know, it would be so interesting to hear, you know, Arsene Wenger's take on him as a captain. It would be so interesting to hear what Guardiola would say now, or equally what Guardiola would change at Man City, because this is the big thing that makes it mad for me. There's no way Guardiola would run a football team like he's running Arsenal, yet Arteta has learned from Guardiola. So it's either he's not taking his advice or his advice is just Arteta doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And dead out.
There should be a third option, which is he was lied to. But when you come out and say you feel supported, when you come out and say that you've got the full backing of the board and the ownership, and when you're appointed manager from head coach, it feels like you're falling in line. You know, that's what it feels like. Even if you was lied to, it potentially looks like in the summer, maybe they turned around to him and said, listen, we can't do what you want to do, but we will make you manager and give you more ownership in the long run.
Yeah.
But now if you look at it, it's mad. So
he's a yes man.
Yeah.
He's a yes man. He's a yes man. And nothing epitomized it more than I think it was yesterday or his press conference or whatever it was. My man's talking about statistics. He was dropping out different random percentages of like different things that Arsenal have achieved this season. And I've sat there and I've gone, you've gone from being so charismatic, so calm, so composed. So you know, I describe him as class. You know, he was class. He was calm, level-headed. To man talking about backing himself by something like 29% or some shit like, and you sort of sit there and you think, your head is gone, mate. It's gone.
He's broken. And before I move on, because I want to move on to something else you mentioned, do you think it's a case of wrong job, wrong time, or do you think it's a case of Arteta isn't maybe suited to the head coach manager role, and maybe he is more of an assistant coach type? Like, do you think it's too soon to say that, or
it's difficult because, you know, in life, I always believe in life, people are going to make mistakes. We all can do things better at some point. So I'm not going to judge him off his one job at Arsenal, especially where he's got a chairman who doesn't really back him. He's got chairman, as I said, but the Arsenal job was too big for him. It was too big for him, you know, and equally, I think the Everton job would have been too big for him in hindsight. As I said earlier, you look at sort of Steven Gerrard, you look at Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard went to Derby. You know, it didn't matter if he didn't massively do well, just the percentage. You know, Gerrard went to Rangers knowing that he weren't going to win the league against Celtic last season.
Yeah.
But Arteta didn't. He stepped into a big job for a big team, and it's bit him on the arse. And I can't see Arteta recovering from this unless he takes a job where he's gonna be given literally everything he wants, but he's not gonna get that now because he's not gonna be given the trust by the chairman because of the way that it's gone Pete Tong at Arsenal. So genuinely, I think he's jumped before he can walk, and he's fucked himself. And this will cost him some years on his career because he's gonna have to rebuild somewhere because his integrity is now being questioned. You know, me and you are sitting here and we're never going to criticize him personally. I'm never going to sit here and say Arteta's a liar or a dickhead.
Yeah, yeah.
He's none of that. But what he is a yes man, and that's blatantly obvious. And that you can't do that if you want your football team that you manage to go in your direction, and you can't do that. You know, you've got to be bold enough and brave enough to say we need to change that. You know, I hate saying it, and I will only say this once because Arsenal fans will want to punch me in the face, and I respect that. But there's no way, for example, Levy went to Mourinho, yeah, come in and I'm going to do this. Mourinho went to him, if I come here, I want X, Y, and Z. Same as David Moyes at West Ham, same as Ancelotti at Everton.
Yeah,
Arteta never had the gravitas to do that.
Yeah, and I don't think he's got the experience to work with what he's given, like maybe a Klopp or a Pochettino who worked in potentially stricter conditions and managed to make it work in some way, shape or form. But what I do want to do before we move on to the next fixtures, as much as Arteta deserves criticism, you know, we've discussed him for maybe 15 minutes, but the criticism needs to be shared. And there's a couple of times you mentioned shit board, shit ownership, and I just want to talk about you guys for a sec. A couple of years ago, I think, was it 2017 or 2018 that Moshiri came in with Usmanov like a silent backer?
16.
2016, yeah. Has that had an impact when it happened? Did you see a change? Like, how did you see that and from before and after?
Oh, it was. Look at the smile on my face. It was mad, you know. Because obviously Moshiri owned 10% of Arsenal, and Usmanov owned, I think it was 30%, and Kroenke owned the rest pretty much. And when Moshiri sold his shares to Usmanov, I sort of sat there and thought, you know, it says a lot about Everton when he's literally selling 10% of his shares at Arsenal to buy 49% at Everton. Yeah. It's mad. Yeah. And he come in, and first year, he brings in Koeman thinking that's going to be the big name. And he actually made a statement going, yeah, look, we wanted our big name manager. You know, they've got Klopp. Man United have got Mourinho. Man City have got, I think, Guardiola. And now we've got Koeman. And I sat there and I went, Koeman was never the man for us, ever. He was never the man for us.
Not even when you appointed him, you didn't think?
Yeah, nah, never. Koeman had this tendency, and I hate this in managers. You know, when Arteta speaks, even to now, he'll still say, you know, we didn't do something or we didn't press the ball. Koeman used to refer to us as Everton. Yeah. So he would sit there in his chair and he'd go, Everton didn't press. This is your football team, mate. Back it. So that was never going to work. Obviously, 18 months later, it turns out that a lot of the fan base were right. I never backed him. In that time, we lost John Stones, we lost Romelu Lukaku, we lost Ross Barkley, and we sort of sat there and thought, you've took a team that in 2014-15 finished 5th, just below Arsenal, having almost beat you to the top 4 spot. We bottled it. You know, we went above you, beating you 3-0 at Goodison, and we bottled it. Going from that to having Sam Allardyce in charge of our football team, being 18th at Christmas and genuinely thinking, yo, we're looking over our heads, was mad. Then he stopped pissing about. Moshiri stopped messing about, and he went and brought in a proper man, which was Ancelotti.
Yeah.
It's taken 4 years and £500 million to do that. Now, you know, if he'd have gone and got Ancelotti or a big name 3 years ago, it would have saved him a lot of money. But now Everton look like they're going in the right direction. And look, even to this day, we're not as good as a Lukaku, a John Stones, and a Ross Barkley. We haven't got that. We're not that good still, but we're getting there, and we're starting to see positive signs, and football's changed. And I just think the transition with Moshiri and Usmanov from where we were was mad. The biggest thing that we lost was David Moyes, who could madly get Everton competing for top 4, top 5, top 6 on a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
Everton turned into a team that just shot money at the wall.
Yeah.
But now he's come good. Now he's come good. You know, we've got the new stadium on the go, and things are looking positive at Everton, and it's just taken a long time to get there.
Yeah.
You can tell Machine was an accountant. Let's just say that he weren't a footballing genius. He was an accountant.
That's why you need Usmanov there behind him, you know, to be the one that, you know, Usmanov has that winning pedigree. You can see in the way he wants to invest. He talks about where he talked about Arsenal and what he's doing now with Mashiri over at Everton. And what was I going to ask? Something I wanted to ask about that transition. You said it took 4 years, and you look at Man City as well. When they first got their first, you know, rich owner, it was before these ones now. They kind of spunked money left, right, and centre too. Robinho, Joe, Adebayor. There was a few signings there where you just thought, oh, well, I understand it, because you're going from essentially nothing to something. Everton wasn't that much of nothing. Everton had something about them. Everton were well respected in the league. So it was a bit different, but you need that little patch to understand, I think, as a chairman, because it's hard to get Everton straight away in the first 2 years, or a Man City from where they was, straight to buying the best players and the biggest managers. Very difficult.
That was the thing with Man City. I'll never forget it. I went to football on a Friday night, and it was deadline day. Respectfully, really appreciate it, man. Thanks. Massive buzzing. Gassed. Look at me, man. I'm gassed. You know, it's mad. It's mad to see that, you know, for example, I went to football that Friday and Robinho was going to Chelsea for 32.5 million. I come back from football. He signed for Manchester City, and Manchester City are the richest club in the world. I was sitting there like, what's just happened there? Their owner before him, that Chikawacha or whatever, was in prison for fraud. And I was sitting there like, what's going on here? And it took them, you know, they went and bought Joe, they bought Santa Cruz, they bought a lot of players that got them into the top six. Because Man City were a bottom Premier League team, you know, bottom half, they were dump.
Yeah.
And you sort of saw the transition, and then they went and got what's his name, Mancini. They went and got Mancini and what's the other lads that West Ham had? What was the Chilean bloke?
Tevez, you mean?
No, the manager. Oh God, who was
Pellegrini?
That's it. You know, and that sort of changed the mentality, because they went and got managers who were big bosses instead of having Mark Hughes, and that's the same thing that's just happened to Everton now. Do you know what I mean?
Mike, I've got a super chat for you to read out, mate.
Oh shit. MM Productions. 2 years, 29. My wife left me and took the kids. Look, man, respect, keep strong, man. Just see there's a positive to all this. You've got no kids, you've got no wife. You know where to go tonight, my G. You know where to go. Fuck social distancing, have it large, mate. Have it large.
Well, that one came out of nowhere from left field. But I brought this one up earlier because I believe James Rodriguez for you lot. Do you see him as the potential what Tevez was to Man City? Because Robinho was meant to be that player for Man City where he changed everything. But I feel like Tevez was the eye-opener for people around the world in terms of players. Do you think you've had very good players over the years, Mike? I'm not going to say, you know, James is the first good player you've had, but the profile of James, where he's been, what he's done, do you think his signing is going to make a big change in the next few years in terms of your attraction and whatnot? Because you got Yerry Mina as well, so the Colombian connection is quite a good thing to have. You know, that's a very good thing to have, especially with their youth system and how good players come out of there every so often.
Yeah, it was. To be honest, it's mad because, you know, they first tried it. I think Mashiri saw Sigurdsson originally as the big man because it was a £50 million transfer when there weren't loads of 50 millions. Obviously, that didn't quite get the hype.
Yeah,
and we bought Rooney in as well. And, you know, people thinking Wayne Rooney coming to Everton, that's a big move. He was doing okay at Man United. Yeah, again, that didn't really work out. We bought in James, and, you know, to put it in perspective, James has more followers on Instagram, social media, Twitter than Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it?
One of the biggest recognised brands. And that man is at Everton Football Club because of Carlo Ancelotti. He probably didn't even know what Everton began with before then. He didn't, you know, he would have called us Verton or something. He didn't have a clue who Everton was.
Everton.
Verton. You know, Ancelotti, where you've said Robinho and Tevez, our big signing was Ancelotti.
Yeah.
Because he's allowed for them bigger respected players to come in. You know, Man City threw money at it. You know, £32 million and Robinho on 200 grand a week 15 years ago was a madness. He was one of the highest paid footballers in the world. Everton haven't done that with James because they can't now. Financial fair play, we're restricted. Ancelotti coming in was the big money, 11.5 million. James Rodriguez is on 150 grand a week. So putting that in perspective against, you know, an Ozil or, you know, an Aubameyang who's on 300, 350, it's shrewd business. So not only are we getting that big profile, getting Everton's name out there, Colombia fans buying Everton shirts left, right and centre. You know, Everton's social following has doubled since we've signed James.
Yeah.
We're getting the exposure, but we're actually getting him for a deal that looks quite convenient. And the other one that I could definitely see happening is Isco. I could see Isco joining him as well. We've been linked with Isco. That would be another one that wouldn't surprise me. He's not a player that I actually want, but again, it broadens your standing. You know, it shows where you are.
Yeah, if you can get Isco in, yeah, definitely. It shows other players that, hold on, if Isco's interested to get there, if James is interested, if Ancelotti is there, there must be something going on, you know?
Yeah. Sami Khedira is another one. We're being linked with Sami Khedira, and don't get me wrong, look, I mean, man's about 38 years old, but we're not going to get these players in their prime. You know, it's not like Ancelotti can go to a Vincenzo or whatever his name is at Real Madrid and say, "Oh, come and play at Everton." He can't do that. He's got to get the players who have probably had a rough season or two and can step back in. It'd be mad, to be honest. I mean, we thought we were going to get Zlatan when he walked in January. We thought we were getting Zlatan. So, look, for Everton, it's a positive. James is that changing player, but because of the restrictions now, financial fair play, it's not like Everton can act on it like they used to.
Yeah. Well, you're enjoying at the moment, you know, at our peril. But one thing I do appreciate, if anything, out of Everton right now is the fact that, you know, you're making an example out of us in the sense of how it should be done and how owners should be acting. You know, at the end of the day, you talked about the 4 years of it not working. You've got to take those risks, you know, necessary risks. But if they don't work out, as you see from the other big teams in terms of the Uniteds, the Liverpools, the Cities, they'll change that over pretty swiftly. The Arsenals tend to hold on until that player's in the last years of their contract and they have the power. And that's part of the reason why we're here. We've got a couple super chats here that I want to read that, and it you know, it moves us on to the next fixtures anyway. Mitchell says, if Burnley and Brighton win their next games and Arsenal lose to Chelsea, Arsenal be 17th. Bring on the relegation battle. Something needs to happen. And on that, to be honest with you, Mike, I'm someone that says I don't entertain relegation battle or title challenges until February, March at the earliest. But looking at the fixtures after the Chelsea game, we've got Brighton, then West Brom. If we wasn't to win either of those games, at least one of those, I can't lie to you, Mike. Look, you're an Everton fan. If we went to Brighton and West Brom and didn't get a win in either game, do you see Arsenal in a relegation battle?
Nah.
I can't.
It's difficult. It's really difficult. And we had the same dilemma a couple of years ago. You know, you wouldn't see Everton in a relegation battle. The issue you've got is Arsenal are a big club with big players and respected. You know, this isn't a poor team. This is Leno in goal. This is Gabriel at the back. This is Lacazette and Aubameyang up front. This is a team with world class, or at least world pedigree players. They can't be in a relegation battle. But if you've got Arteta, in my opinion, in for them games, and you don't get a result, then fans are naturally going to be wary. But no, you're not going to get relegated because there is definitely 3 worse teams than fucking Arsenal. You know, Jesus, you know, Fulham, Burnley, although they won tonight, you know, West Brom, Brighton. There's loads of teams, irrespective of how bad Arsenal are playing right now, you're still not worse. And yes, Burnley went and got a result at you lot. Xhaka got whoever it was in that game got a stupid red card for some foolishness. Yeah. Otherwise, Arsenal looked like they were playing okay. They looked like they were, if there was any team going to score, it was going to be Arsenal. So I don't think it's as bad as it looks. I really don't. I think you played okay against Everton, and I think against a lesser team than Everton, just because they're confident, they're flying, I think you would have got a result. So I don't see you being anywhere near the bottom three. But where I do think you're going to finish isn't a progression. I think you're going to finish 10th. That's not a progression on the 8th place you finished last season and the FA Cup that sort of massed over where you was. It's a backward step. Yeah. And at the start of the season, first 2 or 3 games, I think every fan in football thought, Arsenal have clicked there. They look good.
Yeah, it looked like we had something about us in terms of, efficiency, in terms of organization, structure. We had a bit about us in the first 3-4 games. I think we got 9 points in the first 4 games, Mike, and 5 points in the last 10. That's 5 points out of the last 30, which goes to show you mentality and character of the players is definitely a problem, but it's on Arteta to change that and motivate them. And Gary Brown says, I'd prefer to come just off the bottom 3 this season, then 6th, 7th. Then big changes are forced. Bin players, not Arteta, 5 in, 5 out. And you know what? You make a very good point there, Gary. I think you're right. I think we have to have a season like no other this season in terms of 5th, 6th, 7th, even 8th masks the real issues. I think if what Mike said comes true, 10th and below, 10th to 15th, 16th, I think the proof is in the pudding. There's nothing more they can do but have an overhaul. Like you said, 5 in, 5 out. I'd probably say 7 out, 5 in, something along those lines. But
in the squad.
Yeah, been most of the squad, mate.
Yeah, because, if you think about it, and I won't go into individual players, but, there's players like El Nani or whatever his name is in the middle of the park, robbing a living from Arsenal Football Club. Rob Holding as a centre-back, robbing a living. Willian on the right-hand side. Now, the issue you got is you're stuck with Willian. There's no way anyone's going to pay his wages next year. But these are players that shouldn't be playing for Arsenal Football Club because of the pedigree you've got. They should be nowhere near your team. You should be signing Gabriel season in, season out. Gabriel's a fantastic centre-back. I really rate him. You should be having Aubameyang, Lacazette up front, Martinelli coming in, because I rate Martinelli. I think he's a young lad with a lot of potential, and we saw a lot of it last season. To be fair, he's got it. Martinelli's got it.
Yeah.
So build the team around them 3 players. Now that's going to cost a lot of money, but if you're getting rid of a lot of shit players, you're going to do that. Saka, Willock, Maitland-Niles, these are players who you can grow at. So Arsenal only need to go and sell. Say they sell 7 players, like you say, and they sign 4, but the pedigree of the 4 players they sign are actual pedigree and not someone's 32-year-old midfielder who's dead out, or not someone's free transfer. You go and get a Thomas Partey times 3 or 4 because that's what you need. That's what Arsenal need. They need quality in all positions. But again, I do feel like you took the right steps this summer. Partey and Tierney were good signings.
Just not enough. Not enough steps.
Exactly. You almost needed to jump a little bit. He needed more money to be backed. And, Pepe, we said it the other day, £72 million. Look, he's not worth that, but he's a £40 million player that can come off the bench and turn a game. Do I think he should be starting? No, but these are the players Arsenal have got and they've got to work with. And this is where I say, and look, I know there's Arsenal fans that disagree, and that's fair. Arteta's not experienced enough to build and nurture that team because he's never had to do it. He's never had to. It's not, Alex Ferguson, one of his amazing abilities was to rebuild teams over and over again. We had the class of 92, then you had the Ronaldos, then he transitioned and he had Berbatov, Rooney, he had a fantastic team towards the end. There's no way Arteta can do that with Arsenal.
Not enough experience, not enough of a network, not enough patience in football now. Look at Ferguson's few years at United back then. In this day and age with social media and everything, he would have been chopped before his name even began to ring bells. And we would never have got that. And don't ever get it twisted. I'm not even comparing Arteta to anyone in that way, shape, or form. It's just that I'm just saying any manager, you know, in this day and age, when they sign that contract, they need to understand the pressure is on immediately. You know, you might not even be allowed one bad patch, because that first bad patch can bring on a heap of pressure, you know. And the FA Cup masked it for us. But we will move on. I think we're about 35 minutes in. There was one more super chat here. Let me just read up. There's a few comments here. Agree with Mike. Arteta needs to turn toward the young guns for now. Senior players are not good enough, 100%. But at the same time, the way the fans are feeling, have we got the patience to allow the young guns to make mistakes, to not deliver, to find, you know, fluidity? Have we got that patience now? It's easy to say we do, but at the same time, you know, we've been taking the piss out of for too long. So I do agree with the thought behind playing youngsters until that point where I think, hold on, they're going to get away with it again by doing that. They're going to put the youngsters in the firing line, thinking that these fans, they won't attack the youngsters. The vibe will be a bit more positive. You know, I feel like that's what they tried to do with Arteta, and playing the youngsters in a sense might be the same thing.
But what should you youngsters be doing? What should they be learning to do and learning from? They should be learning from your experienced players. And what concerns me at Arsenal is, you know, we can all say that Willian's a nice guy. We can all say Lacazette's a nice guy, Xhaka, whoever your experienced players are in Arsenal fans. We mentioned Mustafi the other day. He doesn't necessarily get a game. Why not put your arm around Kieran Tierney and say, look, don't do what I did because I was dumb. Do something different, be better.
Yeah,
I don't see that happening with the experienced players. So yeah, throw the young kids in, but they need to look to the experience to support their, you know, their mentorship, their guidance into the big world. And if they ain't going to have that support, then they're just going to fall on their face as well, lose their confidence, and get a lot worse than they ever was. We mentioned that with Eddie Nketiah.
Yeah, we did. You know, that's definitely one that highlights one of the many problems at the club. Suleiman says the position we're in now is a true reflection of what has been happening behind the scenes since we moved into the Emirates. The truth is surfacing 100%, and part of that surfacing had to resulted in Wenger, you know, the fan base essentially not turning on him completely, but losing faith in some way, shape, or form, blindly supporting him, and a lot of people turning on him, you know. That's a legend of the club, and this board and have left him and hung him out to dry till this day. They still came out in the summer a few weeks ago, and they said, we never refused Wenger funds, a direct request for funds. And in my opinion, that's further rubbing salt into the wounds, telling us that, listen, we didn't reject ever of signing that Wenger suggested. It's him that didn't want to sign these players. It's him that didn't do this and didn't do that. It's him. And it's all a blame game at this club. And that's why I've tried to move on a few times, but we always get drawn back in because the problems are so deep rooted. We could talk for hours about it, Mike. You know, and you're just you're an Everton fan. Imagine we got Arsenal fans here all in a group. We'd be talking for days, mate.
Now I'm just passionate about football, and I'm passionate about, you know, big football teams and deserve better.
Yeah. We'll touch on some other games now. We're 40 minutes in. There's over 650 people here. Make sure you hit the like button, people. And make sure you subscribe to Mike's channel, the Blue Boys Network. It's in the title. Just click it, subscribe, and you're still on the video. Simple as that. Looking at the other fixtures, I want to start with the Liverpool one. You know, everyone was waiting for Liverpool to slip up. I know, Mike, it's not the best place to start with you guys, but we might as well get it out the way. 7-0. Like I said, everyone was expecting them to slip up after the injuries. Being an Everton fan, if you can put the you know, emotion aside a sec, are they going to win the league again this season?
No. Yeah. Oh, fucking hell. You know, it sounds bad, but like, you know, Klopp literally moans every game about not having 5 substitutes, not having, you know, being able to put so many people on the pitch. And you sort of sit there and you think, why? You know, your team's the best in the country by a mile. You know, it is, you know, they are dynamic, they're quick, they're strong, they've got good players all over the pitch. And you sort of sit there and you think, you've got to admire them as much as I also hate them, and I do hate them.
Yeah.
You have to admire them. I can't stand Klopp. I think he moans if Arsenal don't get a result. He blames something other than Liverpool players. Which, look, I mean, some people would say it's deflecting it away from you. But when I saw him moaning at the Fulham game when they drew, and he's moaning about the length of the grass, I sort of sat there and thought, yeah, mate, no, I'm not for that. But his team, you can't doubt his team is fantastic, and he's built that. He's installed that because, they weren't going to get that under Rodgers. Palace was the one that shot me. Palace at home is a tough game. Everton went and got a result there this season. We won 2-1. They made it really tough for us. And, people are forgetting the fact that after 15 minutes, Liverpool could have been 3-0 down.
Yeah.
He could have been 3-0 down.
Yeah.
And, they didn't. They pulled off some good saves. They got some good blocks. Matip coming back in at least helps them shore up the defence a little bit. Yeah, they're going to win the league by an absolute country mile because no one else is anywhere near as consistent as them. They'll win the league by about 15 points this season. I really believe that.
It's looking like that. That's why I asked, because a few weeks ago I thought it's a tricky one.
Yes,
I don't know what them percentage. You see, we always get drawn back in, Mike. I'm telling you, I don't know what those percentages were about.
9% chance, 9%. It was mad, to be honest. Like, I know we don't want to go back into it, but Arteta, when he sat there and he said there was a 9% chance or whatever it was, I sat there and them little stats, them XOD stats that say how many goals each team's going to score.
Yeah.
Everton was on like 2.5, and Arsenal was on like 1.2. And you sort of sit there and you think, if we're all getting them stats, where are you getting that from, Mikel? Where are you getting that?
Yeah, mate? It didn't make no sense whatsoever. You're going to make me get into it. He said last year we had a 25% chance of winning and we won 3-2. This year, 60. How did we have a 67% chance of winning this year on this form? Is beyond me. But you know what, like I said, let's not get drawn in again. We were talking about Liverpool. Let's move on from them, because the less said about them on your part, the better. But I do agree with you. I think they are going to walk away with the title again. And with Tottenham sniffing around and barely sniffing at the moment, I feel like I hope to God Liverpool do it this season. Let's move on to the Southampton Man City game. Did you catch any of that, Mike? Yeah.
Yeah, I just muted my mic because my dog's losing their head. We've got my little boy's got himself a little cookie tonight, and it's just had that dessert delivery. Don't worry. I saw Man City turn up again. Man City look like they've turned a corner. Southampton, good footballing team, had some good results, beat us. I think, did they beat you or get a draw against you guys at your place? Yeah,
we got a draw against them, mate. It's not them getting a draw against us.
All right, that way then. I sort of sat there and thought, Southampton are capable of getting, a point or win against Man City. Man City managed to get the early goal or the goal with Sterling. Good football. They're not as good as they used to be. They're showing their age. Aguero's showing his age. They're not the same team that they was when they won the league, but you can see that they still haven't necessarily addressed. They still haven't addressed their issues defensively. They've spent a lot of money in defence. Nathan Ake is never a £40 million defender. If Gabriel's 25, how is that possible? Yeah. But they're grinding out results, and this is why Man City will probably finish second this season. And it was a good result for Man City. Southampton, they should have heart in their performance as always. Hassan Hooter's got playing good football.
Yeah, I mean, before the season started, because of City transfer business, like you said, and because of Chelsea's, I said Liverpool to win the league. I said Chelsea second. I know their game's not over yet, but I believe it's 1-0 at half time. If they go on to win this game, do you not only this game, but do you see Chelsea potentially being up there, or do you think they're going to be as inconsistent as the rest throughout the season?
I thought Chelsea would win the league. I predicted Chelsea would win the league. I said Chelsea, Man City, and Liverpool, and that's probably me being biased against Liverpool. But with the money Chelsea spent and the players, Ziyech, Werner, Werner is that player that I thought, he's their Aguero. He'll score lots of goals, blah blah blah. They'll be creative. They already had a strong midfield. You know, Mount, Hudson, Odoi. They've got some really good players anyway. And when they went and bought in Ziyech, they've got Pulisic as well. I sort of sat there and thought, yeah, Chelsea are going to win the league by an absolute country mile. You know, they've got Giroud who can come on, score headers. They've got Tammy Abraham who can run in behind. They've got Werner who can do everything. There's no weakness to Chelsea. They're not consistent. And again, they're not consistent. And I question, and some Chelsea fans won't like this, I question whether Frank Lampard has got that mentality or that experience to be able to guide Chelsea to a title. Because I think if that squad had a Klopp, had a Guardiola, had an Ancelotti, had an experienced man in charge, I think they'd win the league. But they won't, because, as you rightly say, they're inconsistent. Yeah,
I can see some of the chat devils are like saying Werner's been terrible today, and Werner's someone that's been in my fantasy team all season, and he's been terrible more often than not. I know Werner is a top player, but he's not a winger. He's just like to drift out. You still play him up front and let him do his thing. And I'm not comparing them. I'm just saying, you know, that argument is a bit null and void for me. I think that, like you said, Lampard has a big job on his hands, because it's all good having no transfer window and then a season with youngsters compared to a big transfer window and a season full of ambition and hope. And even he himself said at the beginning of the season, he was very ruthless in it. He said, I'm not here to bring through young talent. I'm here to win. And I love that, because that's what I want to hear, you know, if it's a manager on my side. But, you know, you put the pressure on your shoulders, and if you start to crumble, because I believe they've lost 2 in a row, obviously this West Ham game, if they can see it over the line, then they've picked it up just before the Arsenal game, which, you know, just our luck. But I agree with you. I think Lampard's not the one, but I think they'll have enough for top 4. Moving on to Tottenham Leicester, you know, I can smile this week about that one. You know, Tottenham have usually been on form this season, but the last 2 losses, Liverpool, expected. Leicester, bit of a shock. Jose Mourinho, not parking the bus in the old school sense, but he is doing his Jose Mourinho stuff. And at home to Leicester is very different to playing Liverpool and doing that. They lost 2-0. Rodgers got the best of him. You're in and around it right now, Mike. What's your opinion on Tottenham and Leicester so far this season?
So what? I genuinely believe Tottenham. You're going to hate this. I genuinely believe Tottenham could have been up there for the title. I don't rate
it, not me.
Yeah, I rate Mourinho as in for a first and second season. There's no way Mourinho will get this out of Tottenham next season, so they had to do it this season.
Yep.
And, you know, results at home to teams like Leicester is going to cost them. You know, Everton, it's mad me saying this, but Everton went to both Tottenham and Leicester and won this season. So if Everton can do it, other teams can. That's what I'm saying. And if other teams can get at Leicester and get at Tottenham, it's going to hurt them. You know, Leicester, it's a great result against Tottenham, but this is the same Leicester team that lost at home to Everton and lost at home to Aston Villa. There's no consistency. You know, Everton, same team that beat Chelsea, beat Leicester and lost to Newcastle. It's, you know, it's just, they'll be up there, but there's going to, genuinely, I think there's going to be about 8 teams fighting for the top 4 this season, bar Liverpool, because they'll be in front, they'll be out. But you know, for second, third, and fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, there's going to be 6 teams fighting for that, and that will be, you know, Man United, Chelsea, Everton, Leicester, Tottenham, and you know, somebody else. I probably forgot someone. You know, and they're all going to be fighting for it. So I was surprised. But I also wasn't surprised because the system's so inconsistent, and Mourinho set up completely wrong. You know, he went with such an attacking team against a team that you need to play a flat back 4 against. You need to play a flat back 4 against Leicester, and he didn't. You know, Reguilon's halfway up the pitch when they scored their first goal. It didn't make sense. They got a kicking. They deserved it.
They did, and to be honest, look, Leicester, Brendan Rodgers, that was someone that was muted as the number 1 option last year, and then obviously he re-signed a new contract with Leicester off the back of that rumor, which kind of put that one to bed.
But he's not a winner either. There's so many managers. He's not a winner. He proved that at Liverpool. Liverpool are 6 point clear at the top of the league. My man, Steven Gerrard, falls over, slips over. My man's ended up in the car park. And they've lost the title to it. You know, he's a bottle job as well. Leicester were 4th, 9 points clear last season, and they finished 5th after the lockdown.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
Exactly, because essentially that's quite similar to what Emery done in his first season when he got all the way to the finishing line and then tripped up right at the end and didn't even finish the race, 1 point off top 4, and all you had to do was win one of the last few games against Brighton, Palace, and whatever else. So I think we've been there and done that in a sense, and I agree with you. I think the next manager has to be a winner, full stop. Full stop. But you know what? It's a bit weird of me to say that because then Pochettino is my first choice, but that's because of different reasons.
But Pochettino could have been a winner.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
I think there's a change. I think there's a change in mentality because you see what people's targets are. So, for example, Pochettino's target at Southampton was to get them into Europe. He achieved that target, so therefore he's a winner. He went to Tottenham. His target was to get them into the Champions League. He lost to the best team on the planet, which was Liverpool at the time.
Yeah.
Yes, he's not a winner. Yes, he was there 5 years. But again, Daniel Levy, can you genuinely say that Pochettino was backed at Spurs? No. That's going to be his issue. Pochettino would not be a bad fit for Arsenal. He'd be a good fit.
Yeah.
But he's going to have the same issues, if not probably a slightly worse than he did at Spurs. And, he'll get you top 4 football. But Arsenal need to be competing for the league again. And yes, it's a building stage. Yes, it's a block. But you also don't want Pochettino to come in. Just get your top 4. And then now that's it. That's enough now. But, you can leave. You want him to carry your club forward. You want him to be that man to carry you into the top, the top of the league. Yeah. I think you need to get proper experienced manager. I think you need to get someone who's won as much as they can, and that man's Arsenal. No, I'm joking. Go and get Allegri. That's your man. Go and get Allegri. Go and get Simeone. Go and get
that's my
even Simeone's the one. Go and get Simeone. You can do a lot worse. You can do a lot worse, and a lot of managers. But there is a ceiling with certain managers,
Of course. And I think certain managers wouldn't even entertain some of the conditions that are at Arsenal Football Club right now. So
quite possibly.
It's like a catch-22. This is the roundabout we're on, We can see exits, but we never take them. And it's up to the club to take them, If the club really mean business and tell us to be patient, then give us someone and something to be patient in. Don't give us hopes and dreams anymore because we believed you once and you took the piss. And when I mean you took the piss, you took us from a top 5 global financial club to someone not in the top 10, someone making a loss. We cannot give patience anymore. Whether it's Arteta telling us be patient, whether it's Edu, whether it's be excited, I don't give a shit anymore. I think it might sound entitled, but I feel like we deserve a lot better, as Arsenal fans.
That inner league gonna come out then. That inner league gonna come out of you then.
Yeah,
no doubt watching. I saw that fire then.
When you're on his channel, sometimes the spirit of Lee can get into you, and you have to flip. But it is what it is. Lee already knows, man.
I'm sure Lee can get into plenty of things, my man.
Trust me, he can. We got about 5 minutes left, Mike. Chat. Make sure you hit the like button, and like I said, subscribe to Blue Boys Network. The title has the link there. Make sure you just click it, subscribe, and. Another team I want to talk about, they're 11th, 20 points. They're not doing that well, Wolves, and they just lost to Burnley 2-1, and Burnley are a point behind us now. So that's helped us an awful lot. But what's happening with Wolves? One thing for me, Mike, before we get going is Adama Traore last season with Jimenez had the best combination in the Premier League. It was essentially the Kane son of the league last year.
Yeah.
Why would Nuno break that up and start pushing Traore from the bench and then from a fullback position again? It doesn't really make sense to me when I understand that there is some things about him that, won't take you to the top level, but he's also a massive weapon in your arsenal. And I think Nuno's made a big mistake there. Even though I like Neto and Podence, I just feel like, what do you think? Do you think it's related to that? Or do you think it's just 2 seasons of overachieving coming back to haunt?
It's difficult with Wolves because, Wolves on paper have got a good team and they have done since they were in the Championship. They signed Neves in the Championship. But, if you actually look at Adama Traore's stats, he started half of his games last season on the bench.
Yeah.
And people don't realise that. They don't look at that. They see how good he was when he weren't on the bench. Every Wolves fan I know, and obviously I'm a Birmingham lad, so I'm not too far from Wolves. I know a few Wolves fans. Every single one of them would say they prefer Traoré to be on the bench. They prefer him to come on at 70 minutes and absolutely destroy the team that he's playing against. And that's where they got a lot of goals. I think Wolves are up there for a lot of the last 10-minute, last 15-minute goals last season, because he linked up with Jimenez's head, and Jimenez's head put the ball in the net. Yeah. Jimenez is not in the team for, obviously, he suffered a fractured skull, so speedy recoveries to him. But that is their biggest miss. So Traoré, I don't think he fits in the team anywhere, because he lost his man that he worked so well with. It's like Liverpool when they had Steven Gerrard and Fernando Torres. They linked up so well. They were amazing. As soon as you took one of them out of the equation, the other player was literally half the player they was. That's exactly the same. And Wolves are feeling it. With no Jimenez, Wolves are nowhere near where a lot of people thought they was. The guy scored 29 goals last season in all competitions. They played 50 games, fair enough. But it's a massive blow. So, Traoré being on the bench, I understand why, because he's not as dangerous as he is when he's got my man up front winning the flick-ons. He can run in behind or cross the ball to.
Yeah. You think Jota? You think that's a big loss this season?
Well, it was to a degree, but he only scored 7 goals last season. So Liverpool and Klopp again saw something in him that was better than what we all saw. I thought he was a good player, but I didn't see him doing what he did at Liverpool. And that is a fair assessment of Traoré there, in my opinion. Alex Iwobi, if anything, as of right now on current form, Alex Iwobi is unbelievable. I've been calling him Alex Messi on my channel. So, he's got everything at the minute, Iwobi, apart from
we'll talk about him again in a couple of years, because it took me a couple of years to be sick of him. So I'm gonna ask.
I was sick of him before 4 weeks ago, but now he's turned a corner. So fuck no.
It is what it is. Chelsea are still it's still half time over there, so they're gonna pick up the second half soon. If they do win, that puts them into 5th place, and that pushes Tottenham down to 6th. So just like that, 2 weeks ago, title challenge talk. 2 weeks later, 6th position. That's why I don't entertain it. It's too early, because February, March is the time.
And think about it. If somebody said to you at the start of the season, Arsenal are going to finish 6th, you probably would have took that. And how many points are you away from 6th? About 10.
Now. Yeah.
About 10. 11 points
to be exact.
4 games. And if any team can go on a run from the bottom of the league to the top, when you've got teams like Brighton and West Brom to come, it's Arsenal. So, I can jump on Arteta's back as much as any Arsenal fan, anyone. But genuinely, all you need is to pull some wins together. It could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. You could be completely adrift. But against Everton, I saw an identity for Arsenal. I really did. You'll win your next game. You will. You'll win.
Well, Chelsea.
Yeah. Wait, mate. We did it literally 10 days ago. I'm on my channel saying to people, I can't see Everton's next win. We're going to be 12th before no time. We've gone from top of the league to like 8th, 9th, 10th. We were 10th. We were 10th a week ago.
To everyone that's subscribed to Mike after the Chelsea game, make sure you comment under his video too, to remind him of this.
Drop the hate if I'm. But equally, I want super chats from everyone if it comes in.
If you win, fucking hell, I'll send you one as well, mate. If we win, that's how confident I am. We'll go live after the game. If we win, I'll see you there, mate. But that's just me. If you ask me for predictions, I don't like predicting, because at the end of the day, I'm not optimistic no more, Mike.
I get that. Are you away or at home?
We are away.
3 points, Arsenal.
Fucking hell.
You're better away than you are at home.
Mate, barely.
but you are. Straight up, you are.
Well, I guess the one win we've had in the last 10 was away from home. So I guess that, yeah.
Exactly. And who was that against?
United.
There you go. Look at that. who would beat Chelsea today. So, yeah, mate, I'm telling you.
The law of averages. But we're an hour in, people. Still 600 people here. Make sure you hit the like button. We're done for the night. Make sure you subscribe to the Blue Boys Network. Mike, thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Mate, thanks for having me, man. Like, this is massive for me. Guys, go over to my channel. Really appreciate it. I was doing the competitions to 7,500, but I tell you what, if you guys can make it 7,800 by fuck it, 800 by January the 1st, I'll specially select you guys in a special competition. Go over to my channel, comment on my latest video, and I swear to God, I will love you forever.
Just to let you know as well, I made a mistake. We're actually at home, so
you fucked it. 3-2 Chelsea.
What was it, Mike? Perfect. But Mike, thank you for coming on. People, I'm back on my channel at 10 p.m. for the Big Six show. Tune in there over at my channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. That's it for the night, people. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out, and yeah, keep on supporting. We love it. We're here to stay.
Peace.
Peace, people. Love.